The Mermaid Show was the crown jewel of Oceanica City. Behind towering walls of shimmering glass, rare sea creatures glided in mesmerizing patterns. But in the center tank, surrounded by curious crowds and flashing cameras, was their most prized captive, the Mermaid Prince. He was otherworldly, pale as moonlight, silver hair drifting in the water like threads of light, eyes so blue they seemed carved from the heart of the ocean. Yet behind his beauty was a quiet sorrow, heavy chains clasped at his wrists and tail. Mary had never spoken to him. She wasn't a guest, she was a cleaner, invisible to the crowds. That day, her shift dragged on endlessly. Her throat ached from thirst, her stomach empty. While pushing her cleaning cart down the quiet staff hallway, she spotted something unexpected, a cold, sealed bottle of water on a forgotten counter. Droplets slid lazily down its surface, sparkling under the fluorescent lights. Her lips curved into a small smile. It wasn't much, but today it felt like a blessing. She snatched it up, twisting the cap as she wandered toward the far end of the exhibit, looking for somewhere quiet to sit. But when she passed the towering mermaid showcase, the bottle began to tremble in her hand. Tiny bubbles formed and swirled inside, as if stirred by an invisible current. Mary froze. The faintest hum, almost like a distant melody, brushed against her ears. Inside the tank, the Mermaid Prince stirred. His eyes locked on the bottle, sudden urgency flashing in his gaze. Mary's steps slowed. He lifted a chained hand, pointing directly at the bottle, his lips forming strange words she couldn't understand. "This," she mouthed, holding it up slightly. He nodded, desperate now, gesturing toward his mouth. Confused but drawn in, she glanced around. The area was empty. Heart-pounding, she knelt by the small maintenance hatch, unscrewed the cap, and tipped a few drops through the opening. The instant the water touched the tank, a wave of shimmering light rippled outward. The Mermaid Prince lunged forward, cupping the water in his hands and drinking greedily. When he finished, he stared at her and bowed deeply. A bow not of greeting, but of allegiance. Mary's breath caught. "Why are you bowing to me?" she whispered. He only held her gaze, speaking softly in his language, eyes unwavering. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about him. The trembling water, the glowing eyes, that bow. The next morning, she went straight to his tank. The Mermaid Prince was sleeping near the glass, his face peaceful without the bright show lights. Mary leaned in, tracing the outline of his jaw on the glass with her fingertips. His eyes opened. She gasped and stepped back, but his expression lit up instantly. He surged toward her, only to be stopped by the thick glass. Still, he stayed close, eyes drinking her in as though afraid she'd vanish. The sound of approaching footsteps made her flinch. Guests were arriving. She turned and hurried away without looking back. Hours later, while wiping down benches in the viewing area, Mary heard a muffled commotion coming from deeper inside the exhibit. It wasn't the usual chatter of visitors, it was urgent, metallic, and unsettling. Frowning, she followed the noise. Her stomach dropped when she saw it. The Mermaid Prince had been moved from his grand tank into a much smaller glass container, his body slumped weakly against the wall. His silver hair floated limply, his eyes shut. "No, no, no," Mary whispered, rushing forward. She banged on the glass. "Wake up. Hey, wake up." He didn't stir. Her hands trembled as she shook the glass harder, panic clawing up her chest. Tears blurred her vision. "Please, please wake up." Still nothing. His stillness made her chest ache with fear. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed it, a small service hatch at the top of the tank. Without thinking, she yanked off her jacket, climbed the narrow side ladder, and swung herself over the opening. Cold water closed over her as she plunged in. She swam straight to him, wrapping her arms around his limp form and pulling him close to her chest. "Please," she whispered, voice shaking, "don't leave me." And then, in a moment of desperate instinct, she pressed her lips to his. The instant she kissed him, warmth surged through the water like an electric current. His eyes snapped open, glowing with that same strange light from before. Mary pulled back slightly, gasping for breath. The Mermaid Prince stared at her, and this time, there was no sadness in his gaze. Only recognition. To be continued.